Oh man, I didn't think I was ever going to get done with that. The calls. Rippy only did till 10 a.m. on a Friday, and I've been working on it on and off all day. But I'm done, and I have time to get back to the comedy show called the Trimet Board. In the last episode, we had Cindy Kassab. That was a very good presentation she did there. I was very impressed, and my favorite part of the Cindy Kassab presentation was where she said to the board, she told them right out, that I violate SOP and I go off route to take people home. She said it right there. She goes off route to do the right thing. And, of course, you're not supposed to do that. It's against SOP. But Cindy does it. I used to do it too. Shit, I would take all different routes and stuff. If somebody I knew needed a ride and I could get back to the yard, go in the direction, even if it was off my route, I used to do it. So good for you, Cindy. Keep up the good work. Hope you love that dispatch. Your favorite employee goes off route at will. And she stops all over the place. Okay, the 43, I didn't really like that route because I did do it one sign up, but that's really too many turns and twists and turns. It's a very doesn't have a lot of riders, true, but it's got a lot of twists and turns that I don't like. I never liked routes that go over that. What's that road called over there where it goes? I forgot, but man, that's the windiest road. All right, moving right along.
In this case, we only have one item on the consent agenda, but of course, any item on the consent agenda can be pulled off for consideration.
Bye, Cindy. Bye-bye. There's
just cut her off. So, since the only item we have on the agenda is approval of the board
Dr. Laverne
minutes
Lewis.
for April 28th, is there any questions or comments about those minutes?
They're a very politically correct board now.
I'm not hearing any at this time. Is there then a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved, Mrs. Lori.
I have a motion by Lori. Was it, and who was the second?
Keith.
Keith, thank you very much. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. Well, let's move on then to our resolutions, and we have 4 of them today. The first one is Resolution 21-05-18, which is electing Trimet board officers and confirming Trimet committee appointments. And I'll take that one. Let me just get to my notes here. And so there's a lot of information in the agenda item itself, but board members, I think as you all know, Oregon law authorizes the board to elect its officers and authorizes the board president to appoint board members to serve on various committees. With my term expiring the end of June and with 2 new board members having just joined, one is on, Dr. Lewis, and again, Thomas Kim is going to be replacing me on July 1st. It is time to make some changes so you're ready to go on your first meeting. And so the resolution that is before you today authorizes the board leadership as follows. You would have board president be Dr. Linda Simmons.
Well, wait a minute. This is already planned out ahead of time? They're not going to have nominations now? They've already, wait a minute. So how did this come to pass? It's just like, here's the resolution. Aren't they supposed to do this at the board meeting? What the hell is this shit? Another bullshit goddamn it's already set up beforehand.
Could have the vice president be Lori Irish Bauman. and the secretary treasurer.
Why isn't Bauman the president? She was the vice president right now. Shouldn't she be the president?
Be Ozzie Gonzalez.
The treasurer?
And the board leadership, those three would also serve on the finance and audit committee as that committee. And then in addition, there's some new committee assignments. And the first is the newest board member, Thomas Kim, who will be joining on July 1st, as I said, will be the liaison to the accountability committee. And he'll also represent Trimet on the Metropolitan Policy Advisory Committee. Director Edwards will serve as a member of the ATU/Trimet Pension Trust Board of Trustees, as well as the CAT Committee, the Committee for Accessible Transportation, which I think you will enjoy a lot. And then Dr. Laverne Lewis will serve on the Crash Committee, which was a group formed to help improve public safety with our operations, as well as be the lead on our Reimagining Public Safety Advisory Committee, and a great opportunity, and she's a great fit for that.
Oh, great.
And then, again, another great fit, Director Kathy Way will represent the board on the Transit Equity Advisory Committee. And I know that there's an internal committee that helps advise the staff on our business plan. I'll talk with the two members I think would be interested in that, but we don't need to take action on that today. So that would conclude my presentation on this item. If there are questions, I'll be glad to answer them, or staff can answer also. If there are no questions, then I would recommend this item for your approval and ask if there's a motion.
I'm done.
President Warner, I just have a question.
Sure.
If I may. Thank you. I'm excited. Sad to see you go, but excited, for the new chapter of our board to take over and new committee assignments. I'm just curious, are we revisiting? Are there term limits for officers?
Yeah, so they skipped the whole discussion of publicly how this has come to pass. We don't get to see any of the discussion around how do these people end up in these positions. It doesn't surprise me because everything is secret, super secret agency over there. They don't tell you anything.
Committee assignments. Just curious. I don't see any a start date, which is great, effective July 1. But just curious if we should also discuss potential term limits and if we have had those discussions before previously on the board.
Like Warner violated the goddamn term limits for being on the board. He's a whole year and a half over his limit.
Yeah, so I'll try to answer that, and Shelley Devine could also get into this, but I believe our rules require that we take action every 2 years on electing board officers, and then usually the president makes the same at that time, makes any changes to the committees on that. Obviously, the board can.
Well, you've been president.
And suggest changes any time, but again,
wait a minute, go back.
But I believe our rules require that we take action every 2 years on electing board officers, and then
every 2 years. Well, you know what? Warner has been the president of that board since the day he got on the board. 9.5 years later. Yeah, I'm glad you stick to the rules, you hacks.
The president makes the same at that time, makes any changes to the committees on that. Obviously, the board can make changes and suggest changes any time. But again, these would serve for the next 2 years unless something happens and somebody resigns or whatever.
How come you serve for 9.5 years?
It's the board to do it. So 2 years is the timeline. COVID got in the way of it
last
time, but
that's COVID. The best thing that ever happened to the elites ever in the history of the world, and the worst thing that happened to the plebs. And we're locked in a goddamn giant concentration camp in this country.
Or after today, I should say. Does that answer your question?
No.
Yes, that's helpful. Thank you.
General Counsel, did I miss anything there or misstate anything?
No, that's exactly right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other questions or comments? Well, then is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
So moved.
Yeah, move it. Get it out of
Second?
I have a motion by Director Edwards and a second by Director Gonzalez. Any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve Resolution 21-05-18, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, you guys finally got rid of me. That's good. Congratulations to all of you on the in your new appointments. And I look forward to working with you outside of Trimet after July 1st. So again, perfect. Thank you very much. Let's move on then to the second resolution, which is Resolution 21-05-19, which is authorizing a contract with Makita, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Investing Group Incorporated, for defined benefit plans, investment advisory services. Mr. General Manager, are you going to introduce this or ask staff to do this?
Thanks, President Warner. I'll introduce it. This resolution before you now is to request authorization of a contract with Makita Investing Group for defined benefit plans.
Here comes the pork barrel.
For investment advisory services. This contractor will provide services in support of 2 pension funds, the defined pension benefit plan for bargaining unit employees, and the defined benefit retirement plan for management and staff employees. They will review and evaluate the portfolio structure and performance objectives, complete liability studies, and make asset allocation recommendations to trustees, as well as review and update investment policies, among other responsibilities. Makita was selected based on the evaluation of a selection committee following a request for proposals. They will be paid an annual fee with a total contract amount of $850,000 over a 5-year term. The first year of the contract is accounted for in the finance and administrative budget for FY22. Makita's workforce is 26% minority and nearly 54% comprised of women.
Who
and I
fucking
would like to recommend
cares?
your approval of the resolution. Executive Director of Finance, our CFO, D. Brookshire, is here if you have any questions.
Well, don't.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Are there questions or comments for either Sam or Dee?
Yes, rubber stamp it
I've got a
already.
question, President Warner.
Rubber stamp it.
If I may. Yes, thank you. And I believe this question would go to Dee directly. Dee, is this scope of services a scope of services that we have previously had under contract? If so, is there a standard 5 years?
I mean, why do they even need this? You have the money in the goddamn mutual fund or whatever. So why are they paying? Why do they need this? Who is this? Makita Investing Group to do what? Advisories, if services? What the fuck is this? The whole financial service industry is a fraud.
Cycle that we're experiencing here, just trying to get a context of a contract like this.
Sure. I can understand, Director Gonzalez. Yes, this is on a 5-year schedule, and the scope of work is pretty much the same as it has been in the past and is fairly uniform in the industry. We only had 3 respondents. One of them did not meet the minimum qualifications. And so one of the key factors.
They don't do anything at Trimet but hand out contracts. All these people do all day is hand out contracts. They don't actually do anything. All the work is contracted out to private firms. So they don't actually do anything at Trimet, these executives.
Factors was that Makita does have a local presence, a very strong local presence, and they've been extremely responsive to us in the last over the term since we've had them. So we recommend approval. We think they'll do a good job.
Yeah, right.
That leads to the second question. Just to clarify, then it sounds like it's a yes. That is this is the recommended awardee the current vendor?
Yes.
in the current contract. Thank you. Understood.
Makita Investment Group.
No further questions.
I move to
No, they're-
accept the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Investment goals. Oh, look. 2021. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm looking at their website. Diversity. Oh, God. They have, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, blockchain, thought leadership, understanding China. China! They're going to kill us! Oh, God, what a joke. What a farce this is. What a farce. We live in a country that's made out of illusions and farce. Okay, this is just all a joke, man, except the joke's not funny.
And then a second. We have motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call the question.
No, none.
Okay, then I will call the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve resolution number 21-05-19, please signify by saying aye.
Defined benefit
Aye.
plan investment advisory. Just invest in the market. It goes up forever. Remember, just keep printing money and the market goes up. Print money, 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 market goes up. Now, those people in the tents over there, they're not actual people. They must be swept into a ditch. They probably should, then they don't count, They're not real people. This is America, and if you don't have money, you're not an actual person.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Let's move on then to the next resolution, which is resolution 21-05-20, which is authorizing a contract with TUTE Communications for radio systems managed services.
So what is this supposed to be? I looked at this one. Radio systems managed service. What in the hell is that? Because Trimet doesn't do anything. Once again, we're showing you that Trimet, the agency, doesn't actually do anything. They have everything contracted out. So what's the point of having Trimet at all? They don't actually do anything except give out contracts. Why would you do that? Why would Trimet manage their own communications? That makes no sense at all, right? You can't manage your own communications with your fucking IT department over there, which is funded to the tune of millions and millions.
And Mr. General Manager, I think you'll explain that for the people listening.
Yeah, please do.
Thanks, President Warner. Board. This resolution would authorize a contract with TUTE Communication for our radio network system management for all Trimet buses, trains, and our supervisor radios. The reason this contract is necessary is that the previous company that held the contract subcontract.
TUTE Communications in West Virginia, by the way. Great.
To TUTE. And at that time,
so the other contractor subcontracted to TUTE. So not only did Trimet give the contract to somebody else, but then somebody else contracted to the somebody else. So Trimet contracted, and then the contractor contracted, and now I guess the contractor that contracted is not going to contract anymore, so now they're going to go directly to the subcontractor. This is the kind of pork barrel waste you see in every part of fucking government.
American companies could not work directly with TUTE. Those restrictions have since been lifted, and Trimet would like to contract directly with TUTE for these services.
Wait, what do you mean you couldn't why couldn't you wait a minute, what do you mean you couldn't directly work with TUTE? What do you mean by that?
For our radio network system management for all Trimet buses, trains, and our supervisor radios. The reason this contract is necessary is that the previous company that held the contract subcontracted to TUTE. And at that time, North American companies could not work directly with TUTE.
Why?
Those
Why? At that time, North American companies could not work with Tate. What do you mean by that?
restrictions have since been lifted, and Trimet would like to contract directly with Tate for these services. To that end, a new contract is required, and the total value will be $1,056,000 over 3 years. For the first year, the contract is accounted for in Trimet's IT budget for FY22. Of Tate's 60 employees, nearly half are women.
Who cares?
Including two.
Every single contract now is based on political correctness. How about the best qualified? Okay, how about the people that can do the best job?
Two of the three members of their upper management team. This is a critical system for operations, and I can tell you that it's a lifeline for our.
Well, their goddamn communications are crap. If they've had a hand in the communications as they stand now, they should be fired, not given another contract. But, you know, it's Trimet, so they can do whatever they want. It doesn't matter if you succeed or fail. It doesn't matter because we have tax money and we have no accountability for anything we do. So these people are already servicing the crap radio systems, and now they're going to give them more money to continue managing them, even though the radio systems are crap. Just perfect, isn't it?
Our operators to make contact with our control centers and supervisory personnel.
Terrible.
And Tate Communication is uniquely qualified to provide these services.
They're horrible. Your radio systems suck. Why don't you listen to the scanner? You stupid fucking useless people.
So I have here today with me is our IT director and project sponsor, AJ O'Connor, and also we have our executive director of IT, Ethan Benatane, to answer any or provide any further explanation. And
so they have two executives to talk to them about the subcontracting, but the two executives can't do any of this actual management. They're not competent to manage their own radio system. Is that what I'm hearing?
Your approval of the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Are there questions for either Sam or the staff on this item?
Nope.
Yes, I have a question.
Oh.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead, Keith.
I just had a question of staff, and perhaps I think you know this answer. I hope that what was the reason for not being able to participate with Tate on a direct?
Yes.
It was an
relationship.
So Harris Corporations, which is a radio, essentially a competitor of Tate's. There's different radio systems at different frequencies, and previously Harris and Tate were complementary. Tate specialized in radio systems like ours. Harris provides lots of radios to the U.S. military, and so they entered an agreement where Harris thought they were filling a gap in their portfolio, if you will, and would be the reseller of Tate in.
You see what he just told you that they're using the money, they're sloshing the money around to the various elites. Well, we needed to complete our portfolio, so we took a little piece of your money and took it off the top, just like Trimet's taking a piece of this money for their executives, and then that's how it works. You know, Trimet takes off a piece, Harris takes off a piece, and then Tate gets it.
America. And so they thought that relationship would go on forward, but they decided to dissolve that relationship and just go back to being completely separate in the North American market. Prior to that contract with Harris, we had a contract with Tate. So this will be the third iteration.
So Tate has a long history of communications at Trimet, and they've been failing right along, okay? For those of you who listen to the scanner, we already know that the communications is horrible. It's not reliable. It hasn't been reliable ever. But they keep hiring the same people because that's how they do things in government. You don't have to be successful You just have to have the right contacts.
This scope of services, we initially contracted with Tate. Then Harris and Tate entered this into an agreement for North America. So we had a second contract, and that contract was with Harris. And now they've dissolved that. And so we're asking essentially for the same scope of services for the third time, but back with Tate.
Nothing like failure, man.
Thank you.
Jeez.
May I jump in on a clarification on that? Just to clarify on that point, I have the same question. Sounds like the restrictions were no part on due to any public policy or anything on our side from an agency standpoint. Thank you.
No.
What?
No.
This is Lori. I had a question about page 2 that refers to the radio sites. And I'm just curious, what's Polivka? One of the sites.
Polivka is a tower. It's just a tower. Where is it? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Yes. Is Polivka the company that owns the tower? Or what?
No. It's just the name of the physical location. Like Council Crest is our tower because it sits on Council Crest. Mount Scott is because it sits on Mount Scott. Polivka sits sort of near Happy Valley, and that antenna covers a very tiny gap that shoots through Gresham and East County. It's actually one of our smallest towers. It fills a gap, and it literally sits on somebody's private property, and us and I think the city of Port Milland and Clackamas have radio equipment in that tower.
Okay, thank you.
Here's Tate Communications Twitter account.
Mr. Gonzalez, I think you're muted.
No. Oh, thank you. No, I have no further questions. I move we approve this.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Linda, second.
Yeah, of course you're moved.
Thank you,
of course. Linda. It's been a horrible system. Let's continue it.
Is there any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, then I'll call the question.
Hand out the pork barrel. Hand it out.
Approve resolution 21-05-20. Please signify by saying aye.
Hand out the pork barrel.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Hand out the pork barrel.
Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Let's move on then to the final resolution, which is resolution 21-05-21, which is authorizing a modification to an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Portland for design and construction management services for the Division Transit Project. Mr. General Manager.
And thanks, President Warner. Board, this is the final resolution before you this morning, and we are requesting a modification of the intergovernmental agreement with the City of Portland for design and construction.
The pork barrel of pork barrels, it's division. Yeah, the gentrification / pork barrel. Yes, sir.
Of Division
They need a little more money. We already signed a contract, but we need more than what we signed the contract, because when you contract with Trimet, you don't actually have an actual contract. You just keep coming back for more whenever you need it. Just come on back for more. Come on back for more. Come on back for more.
Transit project. The resolution would add $1,250,000 to the amount authorized for the IGA. This would provide for additional construction costs incurred by the Portland Water Bureau during the project, and then much of the increase is attributed to the unforeseen conditions, particularly dealing with the placement of the underground utilities. The cost of these services is included within the project budget, and their assessment is in line with past Trimet projects. Your approval of the resolution is recommended. Today we have Executive Director of Engineering and Construction, Steve Witter, who's here to answer any questions. Steve.
Thank you, Sam. I also have Michael Kaiser, the project director, with me today, so we'd be happy to answer any questions.
What is this? So this is like we're the city for design and construction management services. Let me repeat that. for design and construction management service. All that pork, man. $2 million. Exactly. $2 million exactly. They got it right to the exact. Whereas your board authorized in the amount of $3 million, give us the money. Give us as much money as you can come up with.
I've got a question.
Give us money.
And this is on the heels of General Manager Dessou's comment about this being the final resolution around the project. So at this point, this item here, could you just speak a little bit on the level to which we have cost certainty on this item specifically, as well as the extent to which we now have cost certainty on the project as a whole? So we in the public could kind of get a sense for how close we are now on having locked in the budget side of this capital improvement. Thank you.
Director Gonzalez, thank you for your questions. There are actually a couple in there, so I'll try to hit them as you roll them out. First thing, I believe General Manager Dessou said this was the final resolution for today, not for the project. So just for that clarity right there. In terms of budget certainty for this project, we are locked into a budget with the Federal Transit Administration. That budget has not changed. And so we've always had budget certainty on the project because it's been fixed. Inside that budget is contingency, as many of our projects have, and the board is aware of that. I think in terms of the overall project budget and the budget health, I'm so happy to report that we're actually running a surplus of contingency from where we thought we would be in this project overall. So that's great news, and it's great work by Project Director Michael Kaiser and his team. I think as far as the City of Portland specifically here, this is an existing street with utilities that are hundreds of years old. And one of the things that we went into this agreement with the City of Portland is a recognition that it would be modified over time, and the history of those modifications are in our resolution today. And so why does this seem to be sort of a pay-as-you-go approach? Well, as part of working with these underground utilities in such an old corridor, we're required to do design modifications that actually require, city processing and things like that. So it's essentially our kind of permitting during construction is what's happening. And so this represents an estimate of what the city and the project have agreed on moving forward. It also represents about $250,000 in contingency within this authority that you would grant if you approve, just in case we did sort of miss that mark, within that sort of level of reason. So I hope that addressed your questions. I'd be happy to answer any more.
No,
muted, Director Gonzalez.
Who knows what you're talking about?
Thank you. So I do have a follow-up question, and it really goes towards just the cost certainty item. So we have an overall budget, but how far along are we in the progress of this project to where we have essentially locked in the larger variables that impact budget? Do we still have a lot of outlying variables down the road, or are we closer to having resolved those larger
variables? Just give them all your money. Just hand it over to them.
I would say those larger variables have been
give them all. Give
them taken care of. And what I mean by that is we
call up Biden, have them print $1 trillion and send it on down.
We have a total contract price, sometimes known as a guaranteed maximum price. A little bit of a misnomer in our opinion, but a total contract price with our contractor. And so that contract is locked in. There's a risk table where certain project risks, if they materialize, that is already within the contract. And so, we've recognized some of those risks might be out there, and we've monetized those. And
oh yeah, you have a contract, but it has a risk clause. Now, I can't imagine that the contractor actually come up with some way to use that risk clause. Can you? It seems all completely legitimate to me. I don't know about you.
As I mentioned again, we still have a very healthy contingency in our original planned budget. So we are on track. We have cost certainty to the extent that any contractor and developer has cost certainty as they execute a project. And so with a good contingency, your other question, we are 50% done with construction. And my lead inspector, Dave Killens, who's out there doing a great job for us, he reports that essentially all of our underground utility work is complete. And so now what we are doing is we are installing sort of those features that our customers are going to see, station platforms, shelters, and also the traffic signal improvements that's really going to make this bus go. So.
Thank you. I appreciate the update. It's exciting to hear the stage that we're in.
Yeah,
and
exciting.
I recognize it's not so much a question now, but in closing, I just want to recognize that the GMP structure, as you mentioned, does provide us some cost certainty on the agency side. The market has such volatility. I simply want to extend acknowledgement that, you know, having cost certainty on our prime contractor side is important. I want to make sure that we're equally asking our prime contractors about sort of the exposure that they have out there, not necessarily to impact our contract structure, but simply to, you know, be aware of the conditions that we're in. I know that we have a fantastic relationship with our prime contractor who has, you know, stretched into this scope with us, and I simply want to make sure that we are not putting our growing marketplace of suppliers in positions that we're not aware of.
Well, yeah.
Thank you.
If I could reply or reinforce, that is very active in the construction market right now, as you know, you being in the industry. And I would say part of the risk table work that we do is actually putting that risk back on the contractor to an extent of reason. And so to your point, you know, we're never going to hang out a contractor because the market is beyond anyone's control. And we've seen taxes and other things that show up after contracts. And I'm happy to say, Director Gonzalez, we are a fair and reasonable client in that arena, and I'd be happy to speak more with you at your pleasure.
Thank you so much. It's important that we have a good relationship with our key suppliers, especially in a market where we're growing our new partners, our future partners, that we maintain that partnership attitude into the implementation stages of contracts. So thank you very much for reinforcing that. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Other questions for staff?
Steve Witter.
Hearing none, is there then a motion to approve Resolution 21-05-21?
So moved.
His salary is $200,000 a year. Steve Witter, that guy right here, 200 grand.
We have a motion by Director Gonzalez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Director Edwards. Thank you. Any further comments? Hearing none, then I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve Resolution 21-05-21.
Roland Hoskins, $200,000 a year. Executive Director, Maintenance Operations. Let me see. Alan Lato, how much is he making? No, he's only getting $171,000. Jeez, getting ripped off, Alan. You need to get more than that. What's the matter with you? Vanetta, but this was before his promotion. Vanetta, well, this is before he was promoted. He was 157 before promotion, so he's probably 200,000 now.
Please signify by saying aye.
Who else would get it?
Aye.
Aye.
Laird Cusack, I think, did he left?
Any opposed?
150,000 for that piece of shit.
Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. Thank you very much.
John
All
Gardner,
right,
how
that
much is he
concludes
making?
our resolutions.
150,000 for Johnny
I
boy.
see on the agenda, you note there are no ordinances on today's agenda. Does anybody know of any other business to come before the Trimet board this morning, or does staff have anything else?
Jay Hall.
Hearing none, I'm going to adjourn our business meeting.
Real supervisor.
We do have a briefing agenda. I suspect people probably need a break. Is 10 minutes an adequate break for folks?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If I may, I just had a comment prior to going to break, and that was, I just want to thank the staff and for their dealing with these tragedies that we have had in the last few weeks, the death and the
one that
to
fucking
our Trimet employees. And I know that that's been challenging for staff, and it's tough to try to keep morale up during these periods of time as well. And I just want to thank them for doing that work. It's not easy work. It's challenging work, but they've been up to the challenge. So thank you all.
All right. Thanks, Director Edwards. Good comments. All right. Well, why don't we just take a 10-minute break? We'll come back at 10:54. How about that? And we'll get right into the briefing.
All right. That's enough.
You.
Good. Done. We're going to end it here. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Bye.